Yo, 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 what's going on, party people in the place to be? This is the Lenny Sports Talk Show with your host, me, Lenny Archuleta. No special guest yet in the studio with me today. It's just me winging it. So, without further ado, let's move on to the Denver Broncos loss at Foxborough. Oh man, this one hurt. Peyton Manning threw for 438 yards on 57 passes. He had 2 interceptions. One that was a deflection where Wes Welker got hit in the back, and that was pretty awful. Brandon Browner picked him off on that one. Brady threw for 333 yards. Also, Wes Welker left the game after that one and did not come back. The Patriots won their 14th straight home game. It's the longest active streak, and also Peyton is 5-11 versus the Pats. Broncos' run game was non-existent. He was forced to throw 57 times, as I mentioned. The game, I only watched a little bit of it, but when I peeked in and seen it a couple times, it looked like he was scared again. It looked like the Patriots' defense was a lot more physical with him than any other defense has been. And that's how you have to play the Denver Broncos in order to beat them. I don't think anyone can beat them unless you play them physical. The Broncos are just a great, outstanding throwing short pass team, and if you play zone, you're not going to beat them, and that's why they lost yesterday. You have Brandon Browner, Darrelle Revis playing them super tough, super tight, bumping them at the line. So the Broncos lose. They moves them to 6-2. It moves the Patriots to 7-2. So my question is, do you think that the Denver Broncos can win in Foxborough in the playoffs? My personal opinion is no. The Broncos' best shot of entering the playoffs would have to be, or entering back into the Super Bowl actually, would have to be through Denver. So if the Broncos cannot win out or not lose a couple more games, I think they'll be in good shape for the playoffs. I think they'll be in great shape if the Patriots have to come here and play. But as far as them going back to Foxborough, I think that'll be a bad thing for them. So if they end up in the AFC Championship against them, or even in the divisional round playoff, I think the Broncos will, well, they won't go to the divisional round playoff with them, because if they're the 2 best teams, they'll probably end up in the AFC Championship game together, which would be a crazy, crazy game up in Foxborough if they had to go up there again. I think the Broncos would lose again. So, yeah, I mean, Brandon Browner was my X factor that I called last Thursday on last Thursday's show. I said that he'd have a big game, and you know, he didn't have a great game, but his physical presence, he's 6'4". Demaryius Thomas is also 6'4", 6'5". When you have a cornerback that can cover a guy the same height, the same size, it's not a mismatch anymore. It makes Demaryius Thomas almost non-existent on the passing game. There was a pass interference call on one of the first drives of the Broncos where Brandon Browner knocked the ball out of the air before Demaryius Thomas had a chance. To me, that was not a pass interference call. These are getting very tacky. I know he had his arm on his hip, his left hand, but it didn't really affect anything. So, I mean, to me that was a bad call. And then on the interception, wrong place, or right place at the right time, Brandon Browner out of Wes Welker's hands. It was thrown behind him. They didn't really mention that. That was kind of a bad throw on Manning, and kind of setting his receiver up to get pummeled. And Wes Welker knew it was coming, and he kind of just took his eye off the ball. It bounced off his chest, and he got slammed in the back. So we'll see what's going on with him. I've been calling this for weeks, but the man should retire. I don't think he should be out there playing like that. Well, getting hit left and right. He's like a target. I don't know what it is about Wes Welker, but he's just a target out there for guys. He always takes the hard shots. I think the man has to think about his future. I think he should hang up the cleats and stop playing football. I think it's done for him. On the Patriots side, Brady was talked up. He was talked like he was something great, but to me he's just a mediocre quarterback. All these guys that they talk up, he isn't that great. I don't think he's that great at all. 333 yards, but most of it came off of turnovers. I didn't see the drives he led. I know they got a field goal and a couple other things. A missed 2-point conversion I heard that they had tried for to make it 3-touchdown game, with a lot of people were saying that was kind of classless on Belichick's on his side of New England. But I don't know. I mean, to put him up 3 scores, I would have just probably went for the extra point. I don't think Denver was going to come back in that game. I also don't. I mean, Brady's good, but he's not great. A lot of people would argue that point against me. I don't really think Manning and Brady are as great as they say they are. And also the Broncos defense, from what I understand, everyone was saying that they came up short or they didn't play as well. I know DeMarcus Ware got a sack. I looked up the stats. TJ Ward got beat, I seen on a play. And also Rob Gronkowski, I think that's his name. He went up for a one-handed catch. He had 105 yards, I believe, from Brady in the air. And Rob Gronkowski. But yeah, that's his name. Everyone goes nuts about that cat too. But you know, he's actually really good, I think too. Well, I don't think Brady's that great. So that's one thing that me and us Denver fans can agree on. That I don't think Brady or Manning are as great as they talk them up to be. It's always Brady against Manning. That's like, well, what about the rest of the team? What about special teams? Edelman ran one back all the way. Seen a couple pushes in the back. I don't know if the referees seen that. I know you Denver fans seen that. I seen one block in the back. Honestly, though, I would rather see the refs keep the rag in the pocket. But I know on other calls that they didn't. So, I mean, it's kind of back and forth when you talk about the refs throwing the rags on those plays. If they throw it there, they call it back, changes the whole complexion of the game. I'm not sure why, you know, if they should have, or what, you know, why they didn't, or if they seen it, or whatever. But anyways, the Patriots got a special teams touchdown. Yesterday was a special teams day in the NFL. I was watching the Seahawks, and the Seahawks got a couple big special teams plays. The Raiders got a big special teams play. But yeah, the best record in the AFC belongs to the Patriots right now, and they're at 7-2. If they get home field advantage, I say they go to the Super Bowl. That's my prediction. I had Chargers and the Cowboys for my Super Bowl, but the Cowboys don't look as good with Romo off the field, and he had 2 fractures in his back. Jerry Jones went ahead and sent him back out there while his back was still messed up. They gave him a shot, sent him back out there. That was pretty crazy. I don't know. I mean, if maybe I can get a shot and go back out there if I get hurt, but this guy's, I mean, I'm not sure what they're shooting him up with either. I mean, they must have some really good drugs for him not to feel a couple fractured bones in his back, but that's what happened last week. And this week he wasn't playing, of course, and they have Brandon Weeden in there, of all people. Brandon Weeden is not that great of a quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. This guy came from, well, I don't think anyone thinks he's a great quarterback, or even a good quarterback. Came from the Browns, like 23 interceptions, 23 touchdowns, 25 interceptions in like 2 seasons or something like that. But he plays for the Cowboys now as their backup. Might as well have kept Orton, I guess. But I mean, this brings up the question: should the Cowboys have taken Johnny Manziel? Now with Romo hurt, they don't look like the same team. They still have somewhat of a running game. I think DeMarco Murray only had 79 yards or so yesterday, so he wasn't that great. But you know, I don't think that the Cowboys are going to be the same with him hurt as he was. Who's going to win the NFC East at this point? Foles went down. He has a broken collarbone. Sanchez stepped in. He did pretty well, but he also had 2 interceptions. That's the standard Sanchez way. So Sanchez came in there, and so it's Sanchez, Weeden, and then you have the New York Giants and the Redskins. And the Redskins lost yesterday to the Vikings. And the Redskins I don't think they're a very mediocre team. They got RG3 back. I think RG3 is a bust. I don't think he's that great of a player. His first year he did good, but after that it's been injury after injury. His timing is poor. He doesn't have good timing. I just don't, he isn't that great. But that's just my personal opinion. I think he's great outside of the pocket, and I think they've coached him so much inside of the pocket that he just doesn't know when to leave. And I think he should be leaving within 2 to 3 seconds. I mean, that's when he played the best, when in his first year. He ran a lot, and I think a lot of these running quarterbacks need to go back to that. I mean, they were great runners in college. They say it doesn't translate to the NFL. You take too many shots. Well, I think he's going to take too many shots if he's sitting there in the pocket waiting forever, waiting for someone to come open. No one comes open. He gets hit in his legs like he did yesterday and gets twisted backwards. He didn't come out of the game, but it looked funny. So I think and Michael Vick too. I mean, he had actually an okay game, but I've seen him sit in the pocket kind of way too long, and it just seems like he'd be better off running it, right away. Kind of like I see Russell Wilson. If he sees it reminds me of Joe Montana, the Russell Wilson Joe Montana comparison that I see. I've watched some old footage of Joe Montana, and when the rush is coming, he tend to run right away, not take the time to see what's going to happen, or let me just curl up in a ball and get sacked. He would take off immediately once he knew that was coming around him. And I think that's a good trait to have if you're a quarterback and you need to get out of the pocket and you're a running quarterback. So I think they've coached RG3 up to the point where it's just made it worse for him. And so he loses yesterday. I think he had a couple touchdown or two. But also the 49ers lose on a goal line stance play. Was Colin Kaepernick in, or was he not in? I saw the replay. I saw it from the front though. It looked like he was in to me, or maybe even that his knee was down before the ball came out. So that's an interesting thing that people are probably talking about out in San Francisco. Once again, we are in the Mile High city of Denver, Colorado on a dreary day outside. I went for my run this morning. I only made it 3.1 miles, but it was very pleasant actually. Gray sky doesn't hurt me any. I had fun out there. It wasn't raining or anything. It was raining this morning, and then it was supposed to snow this afternoon or evening. We'll see what happens with that. As of right now, it was cloudy and gray outside. We're at 12:18 Mountain Standard Time here in North Glen, Colorado, Denver metro area. So yeah, the 49ers, did they have to beat the refs yesterday? I say yes. I'm sure San Francisco agrees with me, and I don't like the team, the San Francisco, but I don't like the Niners. Everyone knows I'm a Seahawks fan. We'll see what they can do this year. I'm not sure if they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl, but my first prediction was Denver Seahawks round 2 rematch, and that would be kind of similar to the NBA, right? So yeah, moving on to the Nuggets. The Nuggets lose in OKC against a second-string OKC team that's beat up by injuries. Durant out, fractured leg. I think it's leg, yeah. Westbrook is out. He has a fractured hand. He had surgery on that. He ain't going to be back for a long time. But OKC, second string, hands the Nuggets its first loss. CU standout Robertson plays well. If you all remember Robertson from CU, he went into the tournament a couple times with us. He's a great player. He doesn't have a good outside shot, but he's a hustle type player. He gets